Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Self-Compassion, How to Be Kinder to Yourself event. I'm Maya Potter, the Events and Digital Community Officer at Target Ovarian Cancer. Today's session will be led by Steph Davies, coach and founder of Life After Cancer. During the session, Steph will guide you through exercises exploring your internal dialogue, helping you to recognize how your own words may impact how you see yourself. You'll learn ways to help manage your inner critic and how you can practice being kinder to yourself. I'm now going to hand over to Steph to start the session.
Hi, everyone. I am Steph, and I run an organization called Life After Cancer, and I'm looking forward to spending the next hour with you. So, our session today is around self-compassion and how to be kinder to yourself. Just a reminder before we begin the workshop that this workshop is here to support you. And if something in the workshop brings up a feeling or emotion that you'd like to talk through, I'd like to remind you that you are not alone, and I encourage you to seek support and speak with friends, family, your GP, your oncology team, and or clinical nurse specialist. Maggie's and Macmillan both offer free sessions with a trained counsellor. Target Ovarian Cancer Support Line is open Monday to Friday, 9 until 5 on 0808 802 6000. And that's free phone, and the Samaritans can be contacted anytime for free on 116 123. If you feel overwhelmed by any of the content in the workshops, please feel free to step out, take a breather, and come back to the workshop if and when the time is right for you. We do not provide or recommend medical treatment nor meet medical needs. Our focus is on increasing the physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being of our members and building social connections and resilience. If you have any medical questions, please ask your oncology team, regional clinic team, and all clinical nurse specialists. Okay, so our first exercise is called Word River. So we're going to dive right in. Does everyone have a piece of paper and a pen in front of them? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop 3 minutes on my clock. And what I'd like you to do is just to write down all of the thoughts and conversations that you're having with yourself, okay? There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just about giving you 3 minutes to just take everything out of here and put it down on your piece of paper. Perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'll pop 3 minutes on the clock, okay? And you write away. I'll let you know when that 3 minutes is over, okay? You've got 30 seconds left, okay? Lovely, okay. Now, I'd like you to imagine that you're walking down the street and someone hands you this piece of paper. And I'd like you to think, like a fly on the wall, if these were someone else's thoughts and conversations, so everything you've written down on that piece of paper, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low and 10 being high, how much would you like to live in that headspace? So whilst you're thinking about that number, also think, what kind of language am I using here? What themes and patterns am I noticing? Okay, so I'm going to give you another 3 minutes just to kind of look at this as a fly on the wall and ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much would I like to live in that headspace? And to notice the language and the themes and the patterns that you're using in your writing. Okay, I'll pop some time on. If you've got any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat and I'll keep an eye on that, okay? You've got 10 seconds just to finish up what you're writing, okay? Wonderful. Okay, so hopefully you'll have your number and just a few thoughts around the language, the themes and the patterns that you notice. Now, I'd like you to think, what would you like that number to be? So in an ideal world, what would you like that number to be? So let's say if we go back to this page, my number was 5. And I think, okay, well, what do I want it to be? What do I want to start working towards? I might write down 7. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a minute for you to think about what you'd like your number to be. You might think, actually, I'm really happy with where it's at, which is fantastic. Write that number down. Okay. So I'll just pop a minute on the timer so you can write that figure down on your paper. Lovely. Okay, that's your 1 minute over. So now I'd like you to keep that ideal number in mind. So if you're working towards an 8, have a think. What does an 8 look and feel like? How will you know when you're at an 8? What kind of thoughts and conversations would you be having with yourself when you're at an 8? Okay, so think about your ideal number and let's just build a little bit of clarity around it. How will we know when we're at that number? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you another 3 minutes and I'd like you to rewrite your headspace as if it was your ideal number in mind. I'll put 3 minutes on the clock. Lovely. Okay, so that Is your 3 minutes over? So hopefully now you'll have your first headspace on a piece of paper and your second that you're working towards. Now I'd like you to take a minute to have a think about what 3 small actions you could be doing to take you closer to living in that headspace. So for many people, that number goes up. It might go from a 5 into an 8. For some, it stays the same. Okay, so if it does stay the same, just think, okay, well, what do I need to do in order to just keep it at that number that I'm quite happy with? But as I said, for many, we notice actually maybe some of those thoughts or the language that I'm using, maybe I'm not actually being that kind to ourselves. We're often quite critical of everything that we do in here, okay? So have a think, what 3 small actions could take you closer to living in that headspace? So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to note those down. Just a quick time check from me. You've got 30 seconds left. Wonderful. Okay, so hopefully you've all written down 3 actions. What I'd like to do now is just circle that one action that's going to make the biggest difference here. And all I ask here is to make the action so small that it's harder to say no to it. All right. What I don't want you to do is to leave here today with an action that you think, I've got absolutely no intention of doing this because it feels too big. Okay. So have a think, how much time do I have in the day? Is it 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes? If it is, have a think about an action that you can do in that 2, 3, or 5 minutes. All right. So I'll give you a minute just to either circle one of the actions from the previous exercise or to write down another action that can be so small, it's harder to say no to it. Okay. Okay, that's your timer. All right, so I put a little bit of time aside now just to get a check-in with each of you. Maybe it could be some thought around what you noticed between writing down that first headspace and that second. Okay, wonderful. All right, so let's move on to the next exercise. So I've just popped a quote in here from Dr. Kristen Neff, who has studied self-compassion for the last 20 or so years, I believe. At the most basic level, self-compassion simply requires being a good friend to ourselves. So I can share her website, which has lots of resources on and some guided meditation and some practice on at the end. So now I want to just dive a little bit deeper into our internal conversation. So the way you speak to yourself matters, and I'd like you to think about what conversations you're having with yourself. So when you're thinking about certain aspects of your life, maybe it's work, friends, relationships, goals, cancer, any health concerns, is there a conversation that for you just keeps coming up and up? All right. So I sometimes find with this question, I don't expect you within kind of 5-10 minutes just think, oh, that's the conversation that keeps creeping up for me. This workshop today is only an hour, and it's really about us dipping our big toe in and just getting a feel, just kind of carrying those questions forward with us. So when you leave the workshop today, just when you go about your day to day and you're doing things, think about, is there a conversation that creeps up for you? But for now, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to just have a think around those kind of categories in your life: work, friends, relationships, goals, cancer, health concerns, and have a think, what conversations are you having in your head? And I'll give an example. I've had cancer myself, and I work with individuals who have had cancer. And when they start thinking about work, there's this really, really kind of loud internal dialogue around, I just wasn't the person I was before cancer. I don't have the same confidence. I can't manage the same workload. Or actually, I don't even know if I want to be doing this work anymore. Now that I know, I don't know how much time I potentially have left. Do I want to be spending that time doing the work that I was doing before? Do I want to find something that maybe has more purpose? Okay. Or we might have thoughts around friendships or relationships. And they could be, I'll kind of split them down the middle in terms of like a positive and negative. And it could be around some friends that maybe I didn't expect so much from, gave me so much support during those times. But actually, I had some relationships where I believe we had a very, very tight relationship, and they weren't as supportive. They didn't know how to support me during that time. And actually, that's quite difficult to navigate. So have a think. Okay. Are there any conversations that come up for you over and over again in your head? All right. So I'll pop 5 minutes on the clock. Maybe just write some bullet point down. Okay, that's your 5 minutes. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do now is entertain me in this next exercise because I'm just going to ask you to bring a little bit of play into this because I know that these thoughts can be really difficult to sit with and these internal dialogues. And I know that for many of us, we don't want them swirling around our heads. Okay, they're very, very often not serving us. And it's not as easy as going, oh, I don't want to think this. I'm just going to think something else and we all live happily ever after, you know? I've got an exercise here, okay? And you'll notice the gremlin here that I'm sure you all remember. So what I want you to think about is this internal voice that you have. You know, for many of us, it's fear, sadness, anger. Lots of us are self-critical, self-doubt, control. And I say that, you know, whether we've had cancer or not, so many of us have this internal voice that kind of goes round and round and round and creeps its head, you know, at the most unuseful times. So think about this, the loudest internal voice that you have, and give it a name, okay? And make it a funny one. Like I said here, I just want to introduce a little bit of play into something that can feel quite heavy. So make it a funny one that makes you smile or chuckle when you refer to it, and imagine what it would look like and draw a picture of it. So before anyone says, oh, I can't draw, I love to just kind of have our little gallery here. All right, so we've got some previous drawings here. We've got Nurse Nasty, we've got Arnie Anxiety, and I don't know what the middle one's called, but it says see you later was popped up into space, cut the cord, and it's got a don't return tag on it, okay? So this is just going to be a really simple drawing. So make it a silly character that makes you laugh. So if your imagined gremlin is large, then shrink it down. If it has a nasty expression, paint a clown face on it, make it look stupid. Maybe you could put it in a tutu, have it wear roller skates that makes it fall over. Just take the power out of it, okay? And this exercise really is for you to almost like come up with a visualization of this internal voice, and hopefully it will just take the power out of it. And when it happens, it will feel a little bit more separate to you. I don't know if anyone has seen Inside Out, the Pixar animation. This exercise kind of reminds me of that. It's about a little girl and her parents moved to San Francisco. It's a kid's film. And in her head, she has a control panel with all of her emotions. So it really kind of takes me to that film. And I highly recommend it if you've not seen it. So if your gremlin shouts or keeps going on and on, put a zip on its mouth. So make it sound silly. Make it inhale some helium and talk, hold its nose, and make it say those horrible things your internal voice says to you. Can you take those words seriously now? So just do anything you like, but play with this. Make sure you make it silly, funny, and humorous. Does it remind you of a cartoon character, for instance? So if you're not happy with your gremlin, where would you like it? Try placing it in a bin or a hot balloon and watch it float away. So I worked with an individual and they really found it so helpful. Theirs was just this like anger and rage. For them, when they felt it, they just visualized that as a big red, almost like an M&M kind of running towards it. They turned it pink, they made it shrink down, popped it on a hot air balloon and watched it float away. And that for them just really kind of decreased that anger and that rage that they felt. And for the individual who spoke about meditation, you know, there's a visualization meditation right there. So what I'm going to do is I will give you kind of 5 to 10 minutes. I'll check in after 5 minutes to see how you're getting on, just to draw this internal voice that you have. Give it a name, draw it, have a little bit of fun with it. Okay, and I'll pop a timer on. So that's been 5 minutes. Hear that just in the chat. It's hard to give up the person we once were. Like working out who we are now and what our values are and what our priorities is really tricky, isn't it? And also, I love the quote, "Comparison is a thief of joy," because we very often compare ourselves either to others or to the person that we were before cancer, and it doesn't really serve us or give us anything good, does it? I think like a really good starting point for identity is just writing down what our top 3 values are now in priority order, and that can help us make decisions as we start moving forward. So let's come to the end of this session on self-compassion. So just a reminder, be careful how you are talking to yourself, because you, of course, are always listening. Now, I've got some optional homework here that can be shared with you after, or feel free just to take a photo of the screen. So I really encourage you to keep a self-compassion journal. So for 1 week, keep a journal to note positive experiences and moments of self-kindness towards yourself. Each day, write down instances where you treated yourself with compassion or felt proud of your efforts. And the next is a reframing technique. So reflect on these moments and consider, what would I say to a friend celebrating similar successes? Write down encouraging responses as if you were supporting a friend. The purpose of this exercise focuses on recognizing and reinforcing self-kindness, helping you shift your perspective towards a more compassionate mindset. By the end of the week, you'll have a collection of uplifting moments that celebrate your journey towards self-compassion. And as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Kristen Neff on her website has got lots and lots of guided practices and meditations that I really, really recommend for self-compassion. And before we come to the end of the workshop, just a reminder that today's workshop is here to support you. And if something in the workshop brought up a feeling or emotion that you'd like to talk through, I'd like to remind you that you are not alone. And I encourage you to seek support and speak with friends, family, your GP, your oncology team, and or clinical nurse specialist. Maggie's and Macmillan both offer free sessions with a trained counsellor. Target Ovarian Cancer Support Line is open Monday to Friday, 9 until 5 on 0808 802 6000. And the Samaritans can be contacted anytime for free on 116 123. And just to say thank you so much, I'm really grateful to each of you for sharing. And I really hope that you took some value from today's workshop. So I'll just hand back over to Maya.
Thank you so much, Steph, for joining us today and for such an interesting session. I'm sure our attendees will have found it really useful. As Steph mentioned, if you have any questions or concerns or would just like to have a chat, our support line is open 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. Please call our free phone support line on 0808 802 6000 to speak to one of our specialist nurses. So thank you again to Steph and to all of you for joining us. We hope you found it helpful, and we hope to see you at another event soon. Thank you.